Hey there, how's it going? This is Matt with SpeedWeightLossBook.com, and today I want to do part two of the Lean Cuisine sort of critique. So it's called What's in Your Weight Loss Meal? Lean Cuisine Chicken Primavera. In part one, we did the macronutrients and just talked about where the carbs and proteins and fats come into play and what the percentages are and how that fits maybe into your daily diet routine. But today we want to talk about the ingredients so that we can get a better look at what the quality of the meal really is. So before we get to that, let's just remind you to check out speedweightlossbook.com if you're seeing this video on Facebook or YouTube, and you can see all of our posts up there. And just use the search function to find posts on whatever it is you're looking for, whether it's how much each pound of muscle burns as far as calories per day, or whether it's just some quick meal ideas. There stuff like that is always on the blog. Okay, so let's jump back into Lean Cuisine's Chicken Primavera, and we'll talk about the ingredients. There's a link to this on the blog, a link to their ingredients list, so you can check it out there. So that way you can kind of follow along. But the first ingredient is pasta, which isn't a surprise. We found out that I think it was 50% or more of your calories came from carbohydrates. So the fact that pasta is the first ingredient isn't a surprise. And just remember that the ingredients come in order of their quantity. So the first ingredient is the most prevalent ingredient in anything you're looking at. So so the second ingredient, though, and this is kind of cool. I was like, hey, all right, a protein source as the second ingredient it's called herb glazed chicken white meat is the name of the second ingredient. And while that sounds great, then once you look at what that is made up from, you start looking at ingredients like maltodextrin, sugar, soybean oil, isolated soy protein, modified cornstarch, caramel coloring, and more maltodextrin. So those are all ingredients that I wouldn't recommend consuming at least frequently or ever if you're trying to eat in a healthy way. So that kind of puts a damper on the whole, hey, chicken is the second ingredient. And to be fair, the list later includes broccoli, carrots, and peas, which are all good, and then a couple different types of cheeses, which a few of them have some ingredients that, again, I probably wouldn't recommend consuming very often, if at all. I try to avoid some things whenever possible. But the ones I listed before, the maltodextrin, soybean oil, sugar, stuff like that, that's stuff you should really try to avoid, especially if you're trying to lose weight. That stuff's not going to do you any favors, okay? So now our second thing here is, can it fit into a plan like Speed, the dietary plan in Speed? Now we recommend a low carbohydrate approach, and specifically for weight loss, usually anything under 100 grams of carbohydrates a day is beneficial. So we found out in part one that there are 60 grams of carbohydrates if you eat the entire container. Remember, there's two servings there's two servings per container. So when you look at the nutrition label on something like Lean Cuisine, you've got to double everything if you're going to eat the whole thing. And remember, if we doubled it, we got about 60 grams of carbohydrates from the entire container. Well, if your gram limit is 60 grams, then you're done, and you have to eat really low carb for the rest of the day, like nothing but meat. But if you've got 100 grams of carbohydrates per day, then you can fit in another 40 grams somewhere. So a meal like this could fit into a plan like Speed, a low carb plan. It's going to restrict what you can have for the rest of the day, for sure. You're going to have to be very careful about only getting another 40 grams of carbohydrates. But it can be done. Now, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should, right? So then it goes to the quality. Well, would you rather just make your own chicken primavera meal or something like it, and use great ingredients like, use the broccoli, the peas, and the carrots, I think, that were in it, but also just, make your own chicken and use your own pasta, maybe even make it brown rice pasta or something like that. Anytime you make it yourself, you have more choices, you have more of an effect over the ingredients and the quality of the meal. So again, you can make it part of a good weight loss plan, but should you Probably not. There are better options. And again, if you're looking for something like this, we mentioned this in part one. If you're looking for something like this because you're in a bind, you got stuck, sometimes it's better to just skip the meal and wait till later when you do have better control. You know, so keep that in mind. But that's pretty much it for Lean Cuisine Part 2. If you have any questions about why we would want to avoid some of those ingredients that I listed before, just shoot us a message in the comments section on the blog, and we'll get back to you. That's something we want to cover in other blog posts too, is just ingredients to look out for. The soybean oil, the maltodextrin, sugar, those being some of the top ones there that you kind of want to stay away from. Okay, so hope to hear from you in the comments section. Until then, take care.